Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back at last to the Final Fantasy VII Remake playthrough. I hope you all enjoyed Crash 4. That was a fun commentary for us, but it's time to start the most boring level in the game.
So does that mean we can talk about, Dirge of Cerberus being a thing again?
I don't
believe they brought fucking Weiss the Immaculate back.
Weiss.
Nobody likes Weiss the Immaculate. He's literally discount Sephiroth.
My God.
John, your reaction was priceless.
My soul was crushed. Like the moment I saw it.
If they're bringing him back, they're definitely trying to restart the Genesis storyline too, because that was the last thing that they did with him was the first appearance of Genesis. Him swooping in with his one big wing and his disturbingly uncanny valley face and talking in that
and an accent that was immediately dropped.
that horrible Dub Dracula voice. Yes, what the hell were they thinking? But yeah.
See, I prefer the European version where they call that character Mega Drive.
Anyway. Also, Final Fantasy VII Remake, what is it? Intergrade? PS5 exclusive midquel game centered on Yuffie of all people.
Well, it's the same game. It's just probably during what it seems like during the part when after Airbuster, you're gonna have like a side story where you play as Yuffie.
Yeah, it's effectively Final Fantasy VII Remake Definitive Edition Echoes of an Elusive Age for the Nintendo Switch.
Okay, so it has like a mid-game story.
It has like an extra mid-game side story. And to be fair, I'm going to give Square crap when they did this for Dragon Quest II. I don't get why they couldn't make this extra content DLC for the older versions.
Well, it sort of is.
They did that with Final Fantasy 15. The problem with that approach is that you get like a really disjointed presentation of everything. I mean, in Final Fantasy 15, what you get are moments where your party members disappear from the game for a little while, and you have to go play this 2-hour side story episode in the main menu that tells you what the fuck they were doing. And then if you're just playing the main story, they pop back in, and it's obvious that something important happened with them, but you're not going to find out what unless you buy the DLC.
Also, Ted, it is DLC went for people who have the PS4 version and upgrade to the PS5 version for free.
But that's what I mean. If you don't have
you still need a PS5,
which is still like $500 and impossible to get right now.
So, like, if you have Final Fantasy VII Remake on the PS4, you get the game for the PS5, right?
Yes. And then you pay like $15-$20, whatever it is, for the Yuffie stuff.
Oh, okay.
That stuff's fine. Like, I appreciate that. I just don't get why they can't give it to the people on PS4.
Release Yuffie for PS4,
it could just be they want to try to see what they can do with the PS5 particularly and not downgrade it to the PS4. And two, it's one of those, I get you want to make stuff as accessible as possible. At the same time, next quote-unquote gen is out. This is usually around the time you start making stuff specifically for that.
To be fair, yeah, I don't feel like giving Square the benefit of the doubt here. And again, I'm talking shit about DQ11,
this isn't really,
which is one of my favorite RPGs. But
this isn't really a Square exclusive kind of thing to do, because Spider-Man basically did the same thing, except they made theirs a separate game. But here's the thing.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though, is that you can just buy that separate game, or you can buy both on PS5.
And that separate game is available on PS5 and PS4.
If you want like Miles Morales on PS5, don't you have to buy the definitive Spider-Man edition or something? No. Okay,
no.
So I'm getting my wires crossed.
The base Miles Morales game is, I think, $40, even on PS5.
Yeah. Okay. So, here's the thing, though. Previously, with Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn, they tried very hard to keep the game available on PS3, but then they found, with Heaven's Word, that
this isn't working.
Yeah. So that's why support for PS3 FF14 has dropped, and all future expansions were made for PS4 on up, because they were limiting
that's
themselves.
Nothing new. Dragon Quest X is still getting new expansions, and that game came out on the Wii, like the normal.
Oh Christ!
Wii.
That's not unique to any MMO really. EverQuest is still getting expansions, paid expansions. And it still has a paid subscription.
I doubt that you can still run it on Windows 98, though, is also the thing.
I agree that it was an inevitability that we had to, because I had to answer this question like the hour after that presentation ended, where we all figured like future episodes of 7 Remake were gonna be on PS5 and nothing but PS5 because you can't hold on to PS4 forever.
Yeah.
No.
I guess I think the thing that just caught off guard was that it was sooner than people expected, and the scarcity of the PS5.
Listen, it's not. If this were Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, I wouldn't be complaining because it would be its own game. And again, this is why I'm willing to give shit to Dragon Quest XI, which is like one of my favorite games of all time. They released the side stories for the Switch version of the game, and then they didn't put that content and all of the extra content from that Switch version onto the PS4 version. Instead, what they did was sell you the Switch version again on PS4, but with the worse graphics from the Switch version, even though it was on PS4 and the first PS4 version had better graphics. So it's just, I don't get why Square has to be like this.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There's still no version of Dragon Quest XI that has the PS4 graphics with the Switch content, right?
I guess if you did some mod shenanigans on PC, but Square took off Dragon Quest XI Vanilla from Steam, if I remember.
That's
correctly.
not going to prevent people from getting the base version, and
it's
making
not,
use
but
of
it shows them
graphics
their
material.
intent. I guess is the thing, is that they want you to buy the newest version of the game for the biggest price possible. Which, I mean, granted, yes, they're a company, they're supposed to want to do it. It's just, I would rather that they not.
We've had
lock
this
their
conversation before. It's about not confusing the consumers, but like, okay. Yeah, you can argue, like, the consumers should do their own research, and to some extent, you're not wrong. On the other hand, that's a different case than Remake Intergrade.
It's more the issue with Dragon Quest is the definitive quote-unquote edition, in a lot of technical aspects, is the worst version.
I would say it's better in every way but graphics, because I'd take the better music over the better graphics.
Okay, maybe the reason I'm not chuffed about it myself is because, I've seen how much worse that kind of situation can get with Persona 3 Portable. And it's fucking
well, Persona.
novel,
here's the thing. Persona
visual
3
novel cutscenes.
Persona 3 Portable was legitimately a downgrade in order to get the game on PSP in the first place.
Yeah, but it's also the only version of the game you can play to get the best version of the gameplay. So,
I mean, maybe this is just me, but for that kind of game where there's so much text anyway, I don't mind it feeling like a visual novel, especially since it makes doing everything in the in-game day a lot quicker, because you don't have to walk from class to
I'm going to stop you there.
cafe.
No. And I'll tell you why. It's because the way they present the text does fucking nothing to represent the things the cutscenes were supposed to present to you in an interesting way. So all of the visual things that you would be seeing while watching Persona 3's story on the PS2 may as well not be there anymore.
I mean, I kind of disagree, because it's mostly just models standing there and occasionally moving their arms.
No, it's not. It's also anime FMVs that show cool
the
things
FMVs
like
were still on the PS3 version.
No, they
PS2
aren't.
version.
No, they aren't. You get a few still frame screenshots. That's it. The only anime FMV you get is the intro music video thing that happens when you boot the game up. It's literally the only one that's in the game, and it's not even one of the ones that was in the game.
I don't think a handful of FMV cutscenes are really... Because this game also came out in, 2009? And I don't know, I just think it was cool that they got the game on PSP to begin with. That wasn't something that people expected
if they had
back
done
then.
something in text form to present the things that were supposed to be presented to you, for example, the fact that when Radio Guy at the beginning of the game gets eaten by shadows, he actually has he's out in the middle of nowhere listening to a radio on a step outside, right? And then the dark hour happens. He gets up and he looks around, and then suddenly he's leaking black fluid out of his face and starting to scream, and then he falls over. What do you get in the PSP version? What you get is the guy's portrait saying a few things and no context for what he's saying to tell you where he is or what he's doing there. And then the dark hour happens, the HUD turns green or something, and you get one frame of his portrait leaking black fluid and him screaming for no reason. Well, possibly because he's leaking black fluid, but there's not really enough to get any sort of dramatic feeling out of the scene.
Okay. Okay, like, I guess that's true, but here's the difference. Here's the difference between Persona 3 Portable and Persona 3
I have
PS2.
one more point to say regarding this presentation, though, is that when a real visual novel wants you to feel dramatic tension or something, they will narrate.
Okay, but that's not really the point. The point is that on the PS2 you couldn't have downloadable content to add that stuff back in, or at least not in a convenient and easy to do way. You can do that.
They would have to final mix it.
The version that you're going to be playing on PS2 was already a definitive edition anyway.
I know, but that's the thing is that expectations are different now than they were in 2010.
But like,
you know?
in order to fit all this new stuff into the game, they not only cut the cutscenes, they also cut the entire second campaign from the PS2 re-release, and all of the additional personas that the PS2 re-release added for the main character to fuse. So,
I mean, I'm talking about Final. Like, I mean, I agree that yes,
Final Fantasy Intergrade, right? Yeah. Okay. So, whether or not they could have added the game into the PS4 version really does depend on what they do with it technically. So we'll have to wait and see on that point.
I mean, find
that's
it
what
hard to
that's what I'm
believe that
curious
they could
about.
do that much more on PS5.
Okay.
Like,
I mean, I'm recording this game, and like there are times playing Final Fantasy VII Remake where I can tell they like are at the absolute edge of keeping this game stable.
I mean, granted, yes, but it's running on the same engine using the same assets for the most part, and it was made in less than, like, okay, let's be generous and say they started working on this DLC campaign 3 months before the main game came out. That's like, what, a year and a half? I don't think that that's enough time to really... while they were also simultaneously working on porting the game over to PS5 in the first place, I don't think that that's enough time for them to make something that would truly be something you could only do on PS5
I mean,
while working with this pre-existing
you
hardware.
already answered the question as to how that is. If they're doing it at the same time as porting the game to PS5, they're sorting out PS5 performance and optimization in the same swoop.
Yeah, but but I don't...
I would say the goal of Intergrade is to transition players from PS4 to PS5 so that they're ready for Episode 2 of Remake. I just wish they gave it another year, because it's really difficult to come across a PS5 nowadays. And Intergrade comes out in what? June? Yeah. And I doubt the problem will be any better.
I mean...
by
that's
then.
fair. At least it is in America, where that's probably more of a problem than it is in Japan.
I mean, I doubt that the supply things are that much better in Japan, considering how dedicated the hobbyist scene is over there.
In Japan, it's hard enough to get people to buy consoles at all, so I think they'll be okay. But like, okay, setting aside like giving Square the benefit of the doubt or whatever, I actually just want to talk about Intergrade's Yuffie storyline as a concept, because it's fucking genius. As a jumping off point for extra content, like Final Fantasy VII Remake already had an interesting additional like niggle in that Shinra is very blatantly trying to tie the Avalanche situation to their efforts to restart a war with Wutai or whatever. That, like, to bring Yuffie in on that storyline and introduce her to the Remake universe in a very personal way to her, it's brilliant. And I was wondering before this what they were going to even do with Yuffie. And
because it bears repeating, Yuffie was originally supposed to be integrated into the main story. And I think it was just because they ran out of time that she was made optional at the last second. And anything involving her or Wutai, if anything, with Shinra in the beginning of the game was scrapped. And that's why Wutai seems like such an afterthought in the original 7. So I'm wondering if this is something they brought up from like old scripts they couldn't flesh out, or is it something entirely new?
It's probably mostly new, because as far as I know, they didn't start really doing anything with the Wutai War until Crisis Core. Yuffie made her appearances there. It was kind of random. You just sort of ran into this little comedy girl who popped in and tried to act like she was a big shot ninja. And now we have Yuffie, all grown up, actually doing ninja things. And that's...
in disguise in the city as a Moogle, as like... Okay, yeah, that should help her blend in.
I've seen screenshots, and it seems like she has more than one disguise.
Sure, but they focus so hard on the Moogle one. It's like you're not blending in with anybody.
That's because that's funny. And it's also a callback in a weird way to that one time Yuna had to disguise herself as a Moogle mascot.
Oh, you see, I think if they were going to call back to anything, they would call back to 7 because she did disguise herself as a news reporter during the weapon raid in Junin.
Well, yeah, one of her disguises looks like she's doing that, actually.
Yeah.
But, like, we didn't get to see Yuffie do much genuine ninja stuff outside of that one instance that you just mentioned. So it's cool that they're...
I don't know. She was doing some ninja shit, stealing my materia.
Well, yeah, but we didn't get to see her do
Wu-Tai.
that, which I guess is the most ninja-like thing about it.
Yeah, we don't want her swooping in with, like, sports tape all over herself.
Waiting for it, though. Gonna steal all our materia. And she's gonna do these flippy little juggling act.
When you think about it, Yuffie in the original Final Fantasy VII was basically proto-Naruto, so getting to see her, like, demonstrate her skills in a more serious take on the Final Fantasy VII universe is, like, probably the best way they could have started off her character for this remake series. And I'm glad that they're doing it. And
Yeah.
I mean, maybe this is just me not giving a shit as much, but I find it hard to get excited about Yuffie because she sucks.
Yuffie does kind of suck, but that mostly comes down to her.
In what context? As a character? As a
Well, you guys already talked about how
combatant?
she doesn't do anything, which again
Right.
is due to the nature of her being an optional character and time constraints and etc. etc. She doesn't make much of an impression there, and she also doesn't make an impression in terms of being a battle character.
Yeah.
Because she's arguably the worst character in the game. I mean, I don't like Sid. Sid's the character I use the least, but that's just because he's redundant. That doesn't mean he's bad.
Sid and Yuffie both have kind of the same problem in Final Fantasy VII, is that as concepts, they really only work in interesting ways if you have a class system, which the original Final Fantasy VII didn't. Remake does, however. So this is their chance to finally shine. But
So yeah,
like,
they could make it more interesting in terms of battle. It's just, I don't know. As somebody maybe without the same nostalgia for Final Fantasy VII, it's just like Yuffie never really did anything for me, and so.
And you're also of the perspective of someone who never really gave a shit about the compilation afterwards either.
Yeah, well, I mean,
which did
nobody liked the compilation after.
no, but it does give those optional characters more to do.
What?
What are you showing off? Your first class soldier skills there, Cloud?
I realized that I hadn't gone back and explored, and I was heading the way I was supposed to go. You don't go the way you're supposed to go. First, you go the other way and make sure you got all the treasure. And I got a Moogle medal, so.
As divisive as the compilation was, it did allow Square to give those originally optional side characters more things to do and more time in the spotlight. Quality may greatly vary, looking at Dirge of Cerberus, but
I was going to say, I mean, as bad as Yuffie is, at least you remember something from her because she stole your materia. Vincent is like the ultimate why is he even here?
Yeah.
Vincent really needs a good fucking game to like flesh out his, because I find him interesting. I just think Dirge of Cerberus because it's such a boring and bad game.
He's the character of everyone in the cast who like most, I don't want to say deserves because that's got a loaded term, but he's got the most material for his own spin-off or side story chapter or whatever. You know, he's the one with the most backstory in the entire game.
It's just a shame that the game turned out to be utter shit, which is why everyone compares it to Shadow the Hedgehog, because it's the exact same situation.
To be honest, I wouldn't compare it to Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow the Hedgehog had like huge glaring design issues that compounded the boringness. A Dirge of Cerberus is just like aggressively mediocre in every possible way. Narrative and
like aggressively mediocre. I'm taking that for myself.
It has one good idea. It has one good idea, and that is the equipment system. And that's the one thing that I really got into while playing it. I 100%ed Dirge of Cerberus in as far as you can, by which I mean I collected every piece of equipment you could and upgraded it every piece to its final form.
Why?
Because it has a really interesting equipment system, which the gameplay does not offer enough variety to support.
I mean, this is also the game where the final boss is immune to bullets in this third-person shooter game.
Wait, what?
Oh, man. Look, Dirge of Cerberus is like just the fucking most, okay? It tries to be like a big old Metal Gear Solid reference with its bosses, but it has no stealth worth a damn and no story worth a damn. So what is there that connects it to Metal Gear Solid? Apart from Vulcan Raven and Azul the Cerulean kind of resembling each other, except one's glowing and the other's not.
That's it.
Wait, is Dirge of Cerberus actually supposed to be a Metal Gear reference?
The bosses are very, very obviously XPs of Metal Gear Solid bosses, and the Kate Sith stealth sequence, which doesn't actually have any stealth mechanics, is called Solid Kate.
Something of the sort. Yeah, they do ring Foxhound, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, the best way I can put it is it was Metal Gear Rising Revengeance before Revengeance by like 6 or 7 years with none of the fun.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, aggressively mediocre really is the way I would describe it, because, like there's no part of the game that is standout bad, except possibly the cutscenes at the end of the game.
I might be misremembering, but I recall the original Japanese release of the game.
Yeah.
Lacking a jump function.
It was, I don't know if it lacked a jump function, but it definitely had a camera that was pulled way in close to Vincent's shoulder. They pulled the camera back. I don't think the game as it is would have functioned without a jump, though. I would have to do further research. I'm not sure. But they did improve the single-player campaign, which is good because the entire multiplayer storyline was just cut entirely because multiplayer on PS2 never really took off here.
Okay, so I'm going to need confirmation from
Online
you guys for
multiplayer,
this,
rather.
because I haven't played this game, and it's been a while since we watched it. Is the entire game as gratuitous as this part with the butt shots for Tifa, or is it
that's just them pulling a Final Fantasy X where their camera angles just sort of coincidentally happen to have a lot of butt in them.
I'm gonna put some Michael Phelps, the fuck?
Michael Phelps, yeah. The
down
Olympic
face.
swimmer.
This is an old spoony experiment joke, but if you play Final Fantasy X, the amount of times some random character's butt is the most prominent object in frame is ridiculous, and it's not even deliberate fan service because half the time it's Tidus, and his butt is the most interesting object in the game. The least interesting object in the game. Sorry. Maybe that was a Freudian slip. I don't know.
I mean, Ted, need to remind you that Photomo is going to come out with the Integrate update, so
Oh no, there's
you're going to be seeing nothing.
absolutely
You're going to be seeing
gonna
nothing but Tifa.
upskirts of Aerith and butt shots of Tifa all over the place, I'm sure. It's just, they've been particularly egregious this part, and I don't remember if they were like that before.
Well, you know, maybe their minds were in the sewers. What can you say?
Okay, so looking up, the North American and PAL releases of Dirge of Cerberus added a double jump.
Oh, okay.
It was only a single jump in the Japanese.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot more sense because I don't remember a point in the game where the double jump was actually needed.
Which is why it was probably practically useless.
I mean, all that reminds me of is like trying to platform in Devil May Cry before you get air hike.
Well, to be fair, you have a fully controllable camera in Dirge of Cerberus, and the jump isn't halfway as stiff. But, okay, so, bottom line, Dirge of Cerberus isn't worth playing or buying. Well, you know what? Buy it. Go ahead. Keep it on your shelf. It looks pretty. But that's about all your...
Yeah, it's got great art.
The box art is probably the best thing about it.
Listen, PS2 game collecting is easy because everything is like $6 or less. So go for it if you want.
Not even the box art. The manual art is way better than the cover itself, because the cover itself just looks like some sort of publicity still from Advent Children.
Yeah. But okay, maybe, like, Ted, you say getting PS2 games is easy, but actually what I've been hearing lately is that it's suddenly gotten way harder, unfortunately.
It depends on the game, but
I knew that DS and Wii games are starting to spike, but I considered
GameCube.
that you can like build houses out of PS2 game cases. There's so many of them out there. I figured that would keep the price down a little bit.
well, that's mostly for the crappy games that no one really cares about, though, is the thing.
Buy PS3 and Xbox 360 games that you want to play now, because if you wait 3 years, they might be twice the price.
Well, The disc only ones, at least.